Good day, class. For this week in General Mathematics, Quarter 1, Module 5, we have the title Inverse Functions and Exponential Functions, Exponential Equation, and Exponential Inequality. And for this week, for the second day, we have Lesson 11. You were able to answer the day 1, which is the what I know or the pre-test. Now, this time, we will be discussing more on our lesson. So, for day 2, Lesson 11, we will be discussing on how to solve problems involving inverse functions. You might think that this is also a continuation of the module 4 which we had last week. So probably this will talk more on solving problems that involves inverse functions. To know more about our lesson, let's go first to our lesson objectives. First is to recall how to find the inverse of a function. Next, let us try to solve problems involving inverse functions. Then we need to evaluate inverse functions and interpret results. As I recall, let us try to remember from our previous week, Module 4. We have this definition. If you can recall the idea of what is an inverse of a function. So let's have this definition. The inverse of a function denoted by f of -1 is a function or relation whose domain is the range of the given function and whose range is its domain. So it is understandable. Your domain will be the range and the range will also be the domain, and that gives you the inverse of a function. Let's go further to our properties of the inverse function so that we can understand better. First, the inverse of a function is obtained by, first, we have interchanging the ordered pairs of the function. What are these ordered pairs? We have the x and y. Second, interchanging x and y in the equation. And then, we need to solve for x. Next class is to reflect. Like you need to reflect also the graph of a function in the line y is equals to x. If you can recall, class, when are we going to say that the graph is actually the inverse of a function? We can use the horizontal line tests. Next, the domain of the inverse is the range of the original function, while the range of the inverse is the domain of the original. The inverse of a function is not necessarily a function. And that is about the properties of the inverse function. Now let's move further, and that is to solve problems involving inverse function. Since we have learned already how to solve inverse function, let's go further with the problem solving. Okay, we have this problem, number 1. $1 is equal to 49 pesos and 40 centavos. That is in Philippine peso. but these values can be higher or lower based on economic factors. So one of the application of inverse function, we can relate this through the currency exchange. US dollar to peso or peso to dollar. So let's try to solve this problem. Okay? So first, let's have the first question. So try to look at the problem. So we've got 49.40 Philippine pesos, and that's we have to evaluate this, no, for the function of the given currency. So let us try to put it here para makita lang ninyo. Through the given problem, there is this first question. Okay. We need to express the exchange rate into function from dollars to pesos based on this problem. Remember, class, that 1 US dollar is equivalent to this. This might not be the constant, na? It can be higher or lower, but for just example of our problem, let's take this, the currency equivalent to 1 US dollar. So how do we express the exchange rate into a function from dollars to pesos? So let's try to denote solving. So let's try to denote, class. We will just have to get the function of this. Okay, so what's the function of that? So we have here P that recognize or denote as our pesos. Since we are to change from dollars to pesos, so denote P of D, which D is our dollar, is equal to the equivalent of $1 to peso is 49 pesos and 40 centavos. And whatever dollar it is, multiply that by D. Okay? So this would be our function expressing dollars to pesos. Okay? So we have P of D is equal to 49.40 times the number or times whatever dollar it is. Okay? So did you get the function? Okay, very good. And let's try the second question from our problem. Okay? So let me flip this one. Now for question B, here is the question B, class. Listen carefully. Express the exchange rate into function from pesos to dollars. So if you can recall the first question, class, we tried to get the function of from dollar to pesos. So we get the function P of D is equals to, I will write it here, again, P of D is equals to 49.40 times whatever value of your dollar. This is the function. Now, if we are trying to express the exchange rate into a function from pesos to dollars, so that is the inverse way. So we need to get the inverse function of this. Okay, how do we get the inverse function? So recalling, class, solving inverse function, we can just extract that through our, what is that? Through our given function, okay? So if we are to look for the pesos to dollars, that is, we are looking for the inverse function. We can also write this one here simply like P is equals to 49.40 of whatever dollar. Now, since we look for the inverse function, we can just extract that through this given function. So, if we have here P is equals to 49.40, just to get the inverse function of that, so we can just divide both sides by 49.40. Also the other side, 49.40. So we can cancel this and this one to get the dollar. So we have here P is equals to 49.40 is equals to your dollar. So this is probably the inverse function of the second question, where our function of the first question is P is equals to 49 if we get the pesos. But if we get the value for the dollars, then we have this function. Okay? Next. Going further, let's have the next question. So the next question, we have this one. So more on the application of the two functions. So for letter C, we have determine the amount in pesos that can be exchanged for 500 US dollars. So in amount pesos. So we will be using the formula or the function, which is P is equals to 49.40 of your whatever dollar. That is what we are looking for. So just simply substitute the value of your US dollar, which is the 500 US dollar. So we have here 49.40 times the dollar, which is the 500. Okay? So probably we have that one. Okay, so we can use our calculator here. 49.40 times 500. So we've got P is equals to 24,700. So that means, to interpret, we have here 24,700 pesos. That is the amount in pesos. If you have 500 US dollar, the amount is 24,700 pesos. Okay? Next is, how about the next question? And that question is this one. Our next question is also an application of the formula. Determine the amount in US dollars that can be exchanged for 2,500 pesos. This time we will be looking for the US amount of US dollars if you are given the amount in pesos. So again, we will use the inverse function. We have here the dollar is equals to whatever amount of pesos all over 49.40. Okay, so we're looking for the US dollar amount of the US dollar. So we have here is equals to P is 2,500. Okay, so we have got 2,500 here. Then we will divide this by 49.40. So what would be our dollar, our amount of dollars? So let's have here in our calculator 2,500 pesos divided by 49.40. So you've got here 50.61. Okay, So probably to interpret that, we've got 50.61 US dollar. Okay. So if you have 2,500 pesos, your US dollar is 50.61 dollar. Okay? So that would be for our first problem. This is already in application to our currency. Now let's go to our next problem. There are more real-life problems that can be relating to inverse function. So another one is this problem. Let me get this one. Okay, this is our next problem. Parking fee at Cebu City charges 20 pesos for the first 3 hours and 5 pesos per hour for the succeeding hours. Okay? So, this is in terms of the parking fee. No? At Cebu City, usually we have for 3 hours that would charge actually of 20 pesos. And then if we have succeeding number of hours, additional of 5 pesos. So, first question. So, we've got this first question. So, what is present in our problem? In our problem, the present is for 3 hours, you have 20 pesos. And if you are over or beyond 3 hours, you get 5 pesos additional, no, for 1 hour. Okay? So, how do we express the parking rate into a function model? Okay, so how are we going to express? So, we can just express that by simply, we have here, so, whatever is the amount, so we've got here P is equals to, remember that 5 pesos will be charged for every succeeding 3 hours. So we can just have the 5 pesos here, multiply that to the number of hours minus the 3 hours, plus your actual charge of 20 pesos. Okay, so this would be our function. So again, how do we get this function? So what would be your parking fee? Remember, for 3 hours, automatic you've got 20 pesos already. And then, the 5 is for every succeeding hours. So whatever number of hours here, you deduct that by 3 hours. And that, the exceeding number of hours, multiply that to the 5 pesos charge. And then plus your automatic 20 pesos. Okay? So, this can also be written as P of your number of hours is equals to 5 times hours minus 3 plus 20. Okay? So, this is just the same. This is the model function of the parking rate. Okay? So, I hope you were able to catch it. And then, let's go to the next question. Let me erase. The next question is this one. Find the parking charges for a whole day of parking. What is the charge rate if you've got one whole day of parking at Cebu City? Okay, so again, let's try to get the function model of our parking rate fee. So we got here P is equals to 5 times number of hours minus 3 plus 20. So this is our function model. Remember, if we have whole day, how many number of hours? We have 24 hours, right? Okay. So you just substitute 5 times your age will become 24 hours minus 3 plus 20. Okay, solving for this one here. 5 times 24 minus 3. So that is 21 plus 20. Multiply this one here. 5 times 21, we've got 105 plus 20. And then we've got here 125. This will be your parking fee. So to interpret that in amount, so your parking fee for a whole day of parking, you will be charged at 125 pesos for a whole day of parking using our function model. Okay? Okay. There is still next question from that. So let's have this next question. Okay, so let me erase. Sige, the next question is this? This one. So, nasave siya A, B. So, this will be your C. C na ni siya. For the next question, this is still in relation to the parking fee. The next question is, how many of parking occurred when the parking aid charged the customer with 75 pesos? How many of parking occurred when the parking aid charged the customer with 75 pesos? So again, we can get the model function, which is P is equals to 5 times your H minus 3 plus 20. You can just substitute the 75 to the amount of your parking fee. Okay? So you've got here 75 pesos is equals to 5 times H minus 3 plus 20. So you have here 75 is equals to your, this one will become, just distribute. So we have 5H. And this one is 5 times 3. We've got 15 plus 20. So we have to evaluate first this one here. So you have 75 is equals to 5H. And what is negative 15 plus 20 is just simply plus 5. Then we need to transfer this. Now, so we have 75 minus 5. To equate that with 5H. So we've got here 75 minus 5, you have 70 is equals to 5H. To get the number of hours that would occur to your parking of 75 pesos, so you have here both sides divide that by 5. Okay, so what is 70 divided by 5? So you have 12. 70 divided by 5, so 14. So you have here 14 is equals to your H. So that means to interpret this one, you've got 14 hours. Okay, so you've got 14 hours of parking out of your 75 pesos. And that is how to solve for that using your function model. Okay, so I hope you got the idea. Okay, now let's have the last problem. So our last problem, class, is this in terms of a company. Na? Okay, so this is the last problem. Let's try. Okay, this will be the problem. The cost of producing laptops by a job company, for example, is given by C of X is equals to 1,500 of X plus 6,500 in pesos, where your X is the number of produced laptops. So remember, your X is the number of produced laptops, and your C here is the cost, the amount that would give whatever number of laptops given. Okay, so remember, class, this one is already given. This is already the function model. So you are given already the function model, which is C of X is equals to 1,500 of X plus 6,500, where your X is the number of produced laptops. Okay, let us put it here. And question number 1. Question number 1 is this. Since you are given already the function model, the original function, letter A question is to find the inverse of the function. So we need to find the inverse of this one. Okay, so how do we get the inverse of that one? So let's try to solve. C of X is equals to 1,500 of X plus 6,500. So again, for us to easily find the inverse function of the given model function, we can just interchange this with X and Y. So we have here Y is equals to 1,500 of X plus 6,500. And your X is equals to 1,500 in terms of X of Y plus 6,500. And then we need to solve for the X equation. Okay, so we've got here X, equate this to the other side, minus 6,500 is equals to 1,500 of Y. To find for Y, so we have here 1,500, divide both sides by 1,500. Okay, and then we cancel 1,500, so what is left is X minus 6,500 all over 1,500 is equals to your Y. So this probably the inverse function of our model function, and this would give us also the number of laptops that will be produced, whatever given amount value, no? Okay, so through the original function, we've got this inverse function. And lastly, let's have to apply this with another question. So remember our equation, our inverse function, so that we can, and also the original function, so you can think of what function model you will be using out of the question. Okay, for the last question, we have how many laptops will be produced if the cost is 14,000 pesos. So again, think of the question. You're looking for the number of laptops, not the costs. So what do you think? of the kind of function we will be using. Is it the original function or the inverse function? So again, because we are looking for the number of laptops, we will be using the inverse function. And that is y is equals to x minus 6,500 all over 1,500. Okay, that is to look for the number of laptops. So again, your x is the amount in pesos, the cost, which is 14,000. And this will be deducted to 6,500 all over 1,500. So again, let us try to solve first on top. So we have 14,000 minus 6,500. You've got 7,500 divided by 1,500. Okay, so if we look for that and solve, so you've got here 7,500 divided by 1,500. So there you go, you have 5. So your y is equals to 5. So to interpret this answer, how many laptops will be produced if the cost is 14,000 pesos? So there will be 5 laptops that will be produced out of 14,000 pesos. And that will be the answer. Okay? So I hope you're able to get all the solutions of all the different kinds of questions from the given problems. Okay? So I have given you 3 problems, 3 different kinds of problems. So I hope you can now and you can be ready for the application of our lesson for today. So for day 2 class, solving problems involving inverse function, you just need this activity for today. So your output activity for today is to answer what is more. Now it's your turn this time. You will be answering the activity 11.2, solving word problems involving inverse function. In this activity, there are 2 different kinds of questions, 2 different kinds of word problems, and each problem involves different questions according to the given problem. It's just like what we had a while ago, like solving a problem with a different kind of questions related to the given problem. So I hope you're able to take note of your day 2 activity output. Okay? And for us, and for you to be reminded, class, of our lesson, so sort of reminders, please like and subscribe this channel for more of our video lessons, and so that you will also be updated of our discussions on the different topics. Thank you and good day, class.